In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we generated over $90,000 for this brand over the last 3 months at a 3.7x ROAS. So I'll show you the whole strategy, and towards the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer idea on how to structure your own Google ad account. So let's start with the results. Again, we spent $25,000 and got back 90K at a 3.7x ROAS. What enabled us to do this is a proper account structure, because what a lot of brands do is they don't even pay any attention to how they're structuring the different campaigns in the ad account, right? And with Google, it is still largely dependent on the media buying, on how you structure your account, on what bidding strategies you use, and all of those things, right? Now this brand, they have around 3,000 SKUs in their store, so they sell a lot of products. And if any other general agency was doing it for them, they would just have one or a few random campaigns, all of them doing the same thing with all the different products. But how we structured the account, which enabled us to get these results, is exactly like this. So the first campaign we have here is a shopping high margin products campaign, and the thing with their store is, although most of the items have, almost all of the items have similar margins, right? But there are a few items which have much better margins, much higher margins, which naturally means that the break-even ROAS on them is much lower, right? So that is why we have them in their own campaign, because then we can scale them more aggressively by giving them a lower target ROAS, which would not have been possible if we combined them with all of the other campaigns. So that is why we have this one campaign. The second campaign we have is a feed only PMAX campaign. There are two things in that. First is feed only, because feed only, what that means is, you only give the PMAX campaign your feed, so it will only spend on the shopping ads and not spend on all of the other networks. Because I always say this, like if you want to advertise your items, your products on different channels in Google, like YouTube, display, search, shopping, all of that, that is fine, but you want to have to be able to control the campaign, right? You cannot let it get out of hand, and that is what happens when you run PMAX full stack campaigns. You cannot control them properly, on which channels you want to spend. But as an e-commerce brand, the most and the best of your ROAS generally will come from the shopping ads, right? So your first goal should be to be able to crack that. So we have this feed only campaign that only has the index products, and what I mean by index is basically the best sellers, the items that have outperformed a target, or they are on target, or they're very close to the target ROAS that we want from them. So all of these items are labeled into one group and segregated out into its own campaign, because of the same reason, because we want to give them a higher budget because they have a better performance, right? So that is the goal of this campaign. Third campaign is a PMAX feed only under index campaign. So again, PMAX feed only, but this is an under index campaign. As the name suggests, right, these are the products that are performing lower compared to the target ROAS that we want. So we segregated them out into its own campaign because we want to give it a lower budget, right? So that is how we can control the spend on the different performance labels within the account and improve the overall efficiency. Now you must be seeing a theme over here, which is that every single campaign has a specific role, right? That is the crucial part. When you segregate out your campaigns, they must be for a specific reason that is going to benefit your account. That is why you segregate your or launch multiple different campaigns. Okay. Now the fourth campaign here is a shopping no index campaign. So what happens when you have a lot of different items in your store is a lot of them don't get any impressions or any clicks, even because Google has so many products, and once it finds some items that are producing some revenue and spending properly, it just starts to focus on those items and forgets everything else. So Google doesn't give them any love, but we still want to test them out and see for ourselves if they're performing good or not, right? And label them accordingly. So we pull out all of these items in its own campaign to force Google to spend money on these. Those are the first four main campaigns. The fifth one is just a shopping catch-all campaign. So this has a very low budget, but this is just a safety net, right? It's in case we maybe mislabel some of these items or not label some of these items, right? So we still want all of our items to be in one campaign to make sure that they are spending, and that is the whole goal of this campaign. So that is like the main structure. But then obviously we do have a brand search campaign to defend the brand name when someone searches for us on Google, right? Because we still want to be able to do that, and we also want to create a proper brand versus non-brand segregation. So after doing this, we make sure to remove our branded terms from all of these other campaigns to create a proper brand versus non-brand segregation. Okay, so that is the campaign structure. But what a lot of brands miss is that the bidding strategy is the second half to it, because even if your account structure is perfect, it will not work if your bidding is out of the context. So bidding is what enables this structure to work together, and now I'm going to show you how utilizing the bidding strategies on each of these campaigns. So high margin, it's a different thing on its own, because again, these are different items that have lower break-even ROAS. So we have a target ROAS. So the target ROAS is according to that goal, and it is independent of all of these other campaigns. But if you look at the PMax feed only index campaign, we have a target ROAS. Yes, right. Basically, your initial goal when you start with Google Ads is you want to be able to utilize target ROAS bidding. When you started, obviously you will have to like rely on click-based bidding strategy, right? But the goal is to collect enough conversion data and then use target ROAS bidding. That is when Google starts performing really much better compared to click-based bidding strategy. So obviously we are using some form of conversion-based biddings, but I'm more talking about the more specific strategies within them. Okay, so this campaign has a target ROAS lower than the under index campaign, and the reason for that is if we were to have same target ROAS on both of these campaigns, under index and index, what will happen is Google will not be able to prioritize correctly. We want Google to be able to prioritize our best performing products in its auction. That is why we are going more aggressive on that. We are showing Google that hey, when you're taking a product from us to participate in the auction, we want you to go here first. That is the whole goal with it, right? So we have a lower target ROAS in the PMax index campaign and a higher target ROAS in the under index campaign. That is how they work together. For no index, we are running that on max clicks because the goal with this campaign is to get clicks in the campaign and then label them accordingly. So we are forcing spend here. That is why we don't need a target ROAS or a conversion-based bidding in this campaign. We have max clicks. The shopping catch-all campaign has a very low target ROAS because again the goal is just to create a safety net with a very low budget and a very low target ROAS. So it is just there for that one particular purpose. And on brand search, we always recommend using target impression share instead of target ROAS because target ROAS here can inflate your average CPCs. So impression share generally performs better. That is what we use always pretty much on brand search. So that is how you make your campaign structures work together. You analyze the different contexts and segregate out each campaigns for a particular role, right? You don't segregate them out for no reason, otherwise they just start competing against each other. Now you might have noticed that we don't have a non-brand search campaign in this account, and that is because we tried it but it did not perform well. We also tried dynamic search campaign, which also did not work very well for them, but that is fine. Like for most of our clients, we do have non-brand search campaigns running. It is just that first of all, like mostly shopping generally outperforms search. That is generally going to happen, but we still do obviously run it. So it is still a very strong campaign type. You do want to have it in your account, but if it does not work, then obviously cut it out, right? You test different things that make sense and you cut out what doesn't work, you scale what works. And coming to how to make these segregations, you don't need to do these manually, these index labels. You can use scripts. There are some paid and some free scripts. You can use either of them. Like for a free one that I would suggest is called the Labelizer script. You can search for that and you can start with that. That works pretty well. But there are different scripts that you can be using to label them automatically. You don't need to sit and label 3,000 items on your own. You would not be able to do that. Alright, so that is it for this video. If you found this helpful, feel free to watch the rest of my content, and I'll see you in the next one.